Game season's opened.
They're besieging Alway Suda.
No, why are we doing this?
A question for the deep reaches of the night. Better not to ask questions like that in the daytime, just get on with the job.
You misunderstand. Why do we need a tarmac road?
For the water tankers and the petrol tankers. And so that the visitors, the press, and the Hollywood goodwill ambassadors, and Uncle Tom Copley and all can arrive in air-conditioned comfort.
Uncle Tom Copley?
Present company except Griselda. It's a colloquial expression. Means all sorts. Anybody and everybody.
How far is the nearest town?
On our side of the border, 20 kilometres. On their side, Alway Suda is closer, 12 kilometres.
This is the best site you could find.
And what's wrong with it?
Well, it would be better to be closer to the town, and then you wouldn't need so much tarmac.
The locals wouldn't wear it.
The town is already full of refugees. Some of the locals are resentful. It's a threat to the social equilibrium.
There's no property values to ruin round here. It's a graveyard for camels, nothing but sand scorpions and snakes.
It's quite flat and close to the border.
Man, one spot's as bad as the next.
How far is the border?
6 kilometres.
And how will you get them here from the border?
And they keep on walking, unless they're too old or too young or too sick. Then we take them in the trucks and the ambulances. On the tarmac.
So much sand.
Gonna have to spread gravel. Shed-load of gravel.
Is that really necessary?
Otherwise, in summer you get sandstorms. In the winter you'll be slogging through rivers of mud.
It isn't in the budget.
You're gonna have to put it in.
How much?
How big a camp did you have in mind?
We estimate between 10 and 12,000 refugees over the first year.
Times 10.
Pardon?
100,000. Well, this is not going to be your average camp. This conflict is not your average situation. It's a civil war in a box of snakes stirred up by political repression. It's already brimming with sectarian poison. It's attracting vipers from all over the Middle East. Tens of thousands of ordinary people will be heading for the exits.
We are not planning for anything on that scale. Our assessment is that the issues are political. They do not have a sectarian basis.
Bollocks. Politics is sectarian in this part of the world. In most parts of the world, come to that, it's going to be a right holics. Bollocks means balls, rubbish. A holics is a dog's breakfast.
A mess.
Thank you for the translation, Mr. Stanton. I need words I can put in my report.
Well, you can tell there's going to be another Dadaab.
I hope with all my heart that you are wrong.
Hope has got nothing to do with it. Go on.
Mr. Stanton, what do you think?
I was only posted here 10 days ago.
First impressions are instinctive. They can reveal truths you suppress later after you have absorbed the conventional wisdom.
If he's right, it's a huge undertaking. But if anyone can carry it off, Moriarty can. He's a multi-talented man. But that includes a talent for exaggeration.
And?
Look here, I may be speaking out of turn, but the humanitarian effort, the needs of the refugees trumps everything. I mean, there are certain rumours. I think I'm entitled to ask you, does he have the total confidence of the UNHCR?
I don't know what you've heard or where you've heard it from, but Mr. Moriarty is one of our most experienced senior field officers.
It was a question of personal manner or attitude.
I've only just met Mr. Moriarty myself today. I have no reason to question his manners. It's your opinion of his judgment I ask about.
I think he exaggerates. To get more funds. That's just how he is.
Why?
It needs doing.
You don't have to be the one.
You don't set out to become the mayor of one of the lower circles of hell. There's no school you can go to learn that.
We have those schools now.
But I don't teach you the only thing you need to know. How to make a man do what he doesn't want to do without putting a gun to his head.
We have protocol.
As usual, as traffic lights in the desert.
Follow your moral compass. You need to believe in something.
Well, belief is like putting on horse blinkers. Only a man who doesn't believe in anything can actually see what's going on around him.
Still, in the deep reaches of the night, you ask the question.
Are we some kind of fucking missionaries for democracy? For capitalism, Disneyland and Hollywood?
Because you can make a difference.
Oh, don't give me advertising slogans.
You need to have a purpose.
Well, I do the job because it's there, like Everest.
You can't just put your hands and your mind into it, you need to put your soul into it too.
I'm not an artist, I'm a craftsman.
That's a solipsistic need.
I believe in myself, if that's what you mean. Except sometimes, in the deep reaches of the night.
Think how lucky you are just to be in a position to help. Think of the billions of people who spend their brief stay on this planet just struggling to survive.
And the billions just struggling to please themselves.
You can make a difference.
Fancy a pill.
I'm past that.
Huh. Come to me too late.
I've come to help you.
And I'm grateful. And I admire you, what you say, how you think, and I don't disagree, but you'll never understand.
Both want to help people.
You cannot help a multitude. They have to help themselves, and they're good at that round here. They help themselves to everything. Caravans, electricity, women!
I don't understand.
It's because you're not really here.
I'm here.
No. You are in a winter wonderland fortified by snowy mountains and mountains of money in the bank. You and your colleagues sit in a glass-walled conference room around a rosewood table as long as a bowling alley with a sharpened pencil and a pad and a glass and a bottle of water in front of each place. And you talk. And you draw salaries on pads.
You are so cold. Where is your heart?
If I had a heart, you might take it from me.
Families to around 120,000 residents in just over a year, making it one of the largest refugee camps on Earth. Without any sort of income.
You can't bring that in here, I'm afraid.
Why not?
This is a military zone. The guard will look after it. Sorry, Karen, it's out of our jurisdiction. The tape recorder's okay. On these monitors, you watch them die. The cameras have a range of 50 kilometres. Sometimes the army fires on them. A couple of nights ago, a group of refugees stopped for the night a few km from the border. They used their mobile phones to call back home and check on whether they were being pursued. The government got a fix on their signals and bombed them.
You've got soldiers here, can't they do something?
They can't intervene until the refugees cross the border. They straggle in, bringing their life possessions in rope bags and cardboard boxes. They're in a sorry state, weak and emaciated. They say there's no food to be had over there now in what was once the breadbasket of the entire region. When they see the guards here and the uniforms, they're terrified. They expect to be imprisoned and tortured. Instead, the guards give them a welcome pack. Bread, juice, a blanket, and they check their ID. They use iris recognition isometric technology, just like flying into Heathrow. Everyone is given a medical exam. If they've got war wounds or are seriously injured, they go straight to hospital. Everyone is vaccinated against measles and polio and given vitamin A supplements. They're exhausted, so they rest here for a bit before going on to the camp.
How many come through?
Actually, it's a two-way traffic. On a typical day, 500 to 1,000 cross over, and every day 4 buses from the camps pull up here with 200 or 300 going back.
Going back? Why?
Sometimes they may be working for the rebels by smuggling. Sometimes they go back to collect their brothers or sons who've stayed on to fight, because they don't let them in, young men travelling alone.
Why not?
They must come with their families. Young men without family connections are seen as troublemakers.
So with all this cross-border two-way traffic, these refugees aren't exactly isolated, the way displaced people have been throughout history.
They're in constant touch with the folks back home. At night they climb up on their caravans with their mobiles to call and text and Skype. Some of them may be spies working for the regime.
Why herd them into camps? Why not settle them into the local communities?
This country has already absorbed 600,000 refugees. Only a small fraction live in the camps, but it's much easier for us to apply the healthcare resources in the camps.
And how do the locals feel about their country being used as a human storage depot?
This country has a long tradition of welcoming travellers. Now it's refugees from regional conflicts, first the Palestinians, the Iraqis, and now this. But they may be reaching the saturation point. The camp has a population of 125,000. That's bigger than Lincoln, Exeter, or Colchester. Refugees from this conflict now amount to 2% of the host nation population. That's like 6 million Mexicans crossing Rio Grande into the United States, or 1.25 million Pakistanis.
What about
flying
stories
into
I've heard about human rights abuses and corruption in the administration of the camp?
In a big city teeming with immigrants, there will always be civil problems. To discuss those, you'll have to speak to the Lord Mayor.
The Lord Mayor?
The UNHCR field officer, Moriarty, that's what they call him. How did you get in here?
Papa, the Ibrahim brought me. He is my cousin.
You shouldn't be here by yourself.
But the door is open. Papa was just outside.
We cannot be here alone together. Bobo! Bobo! He's gone. You have to leave right now.
Mr. Stanton, please. You are a good man. We already know this about you. You would not compromise me, huh?
These are not my rules. These are the rules of your culture, and we both must obey them.
In our culture, women are used to bending the rules just a little bit, huh? The door is open. Everybody outside can see me here. We are not in the same room.
What do you want?
I want to help my people. You are good people. You want to help us, but you don't understand our ways.
In what way?
The food, for instance.
Of course, food supplies could always be improved. But what we provide through the distribution points is well above the
You
minimum
throw us sacks of grain at feeding time. We are not animals in a zoo. We used to have supermarkets and choose what we wanted. We used to put fresh food, vegetables, and meat in our trolleys, just like you do in your country. Why not build us some supermarkets?
What would you use for money?
You give us free food. Why not give us free vouchers instead and let us choose our own food?
What's your name?
Sabina al-Sawadi.
You're a very bright young lady, Sabine.
Baba says you don't speak Arabic.
I am studying it.
Well, I speak very good English. I was accepted to study for the baccalaureate. I can interpret for you and help you with your work. I am very good secretary.
We cannot work alone together.
Next time I bring my cousin Azu, yeah? He can chaperone me. Azu can introduce you to people who can help you. Whatever you want, Azu can do it.
I'm sure you would both be a great help, Sabine. I really do. But I would have to talk to the Lord Mayor.
They say the Lord Mayor has no heart. You have a heart. Anybody can see that. Can you help me?
If it were up to me, I would hire you as my sister. But it is not within my gift.
It's not gifts or salary I want. I want to help my people. That's the same thing you want, Mr. Stanton. Isn't it?
I will get the Lord Mayor to speak to you. But we must talk outside.
And you can answer them with a 2-letter word. No. N-O. Or 5 letters. No way. There's no negotiation until they get back to work. Every hour they delay comes off their feet. Well, tell them to take a look at their contract. Get back to work, then we'll talk.
Yeah. They're getting really worked up out there.
Well, we've got a situation. The new contractor hasn't collected the sewage. The shit has literally hit the fan.
Shouldn't you go out and talk to them?
I have just been talking to them. Somebody poured sand in their petrol tanks. They think it was that contractor we dismissed. Oh, they can hire new trucks, but they don't want to pay for them.
I mean, the crowd outside, there must be 50 of them now.
Oh, I'm sure the Colonel's got at least 50 noisemakers on his payroll.
Colonel Saladin of the Border Guard.
No, and he's only a lieutenant colonel. I mean, Hassan al-Sawadi.
I don't think I know him.
He's a local mafioso, former rebel commander, now one of the district leaders. I suppose he likes to be called colonel, because Saladin's only a lieutenant colonel. Ah. Here. Put another dinar in the jukebox.
Salam alaikum.
Walaikum assalam.
I bring you a gift, Lord Mayor. This is what our children have to live with. Their tents are full of rats and scorpions. My people were promised caravans. Where are the caravans?
You call me mayor and you call yourself colonel. As a man who's the leader of his people, you will understand it is the job of the mayor to say no. Everybody would like everything given to them, dollars sprinkling down from the trees in the gardens of heaven. It's normal to want everything for free, but that's not the real world.
You told us everybody will be moved into caravans by the end of Ramadan. That was July. Now winter is coming.
Don't let us down. I was unable to keep...
You should apologize to me and to my people.
And an apology will not magic up caravans, and it's not my fault. Look on it as the will of Allah. We have provided 15,000 caravans. When more caravans arrive, they'll get them.
In the meanwhile, on the floors of our tents, children are playing, women are nursing babies, and there are nests of scorpions.
In the meanwhile, you might consider lending your people a couple of the 3 caravans you've appropriated for your personal use.
What kind of Lord Mayor are you? You can't even keep the lights on in your city. He blacked out in my district last night, just when people were preparing dinner.
Do you want to know who won the game last night? You would have been watching the football match on your widescreen television when the lights went out. If you want to avoid stoppages, stop tapping wires into the hospital's electricity supply. When their electricity cuts out, patients die.
When are you going to restore the electricity?
The generator was overloaded, so it's burned out. You might get some of your chums who steal the electricity and send it to the shopkeepers to pass around the hat and buy us a new one.
The people will be angry. They will protest.
Look, everybody knows the leaders steal the electricity. The lampposts are lit up like Christmas trees. The problem is, you're not doing it efficiently. Bring the leaders in for a chat, and we'll find a better way.
And we will want to talk about the toilets too. This morning the toilets were not emptied.
If you use the facilities we have provided, collection would be easy. But with people digging thousands of private pits outside their tents, collection is impossible.
They don't want to do this private duties in public, especially the women and the younger girls.
Then the price they will pay when the summer comes is an outbreak of gastroenteritis and cholera.
Would you send your daughters to do their business in a public washroom?
I've just been talking to the contractor, but I couldn't make myself heard over that racket. Now, if you call off your rent-a-rant crowd, I'll get back on the phone.
We're a proud people. Some of us would prefer to die than to live here like animals in a pen. My people are suffering. They're suffering their bodies. They're suffering their heads and hearts. Only our spirit is strong.
And we understand that your people are suffering. We do everything we can to help them. We provide free food, water, shelter, medical attention, education.
You're cheating us! Your aid agencies give us this bit because they're trying to silence us with beads and trinkets. My people don't want to stay here. We want to go home, and you keep us here because a refugee camp is cheaper than a cruise missile or a no-fly zone.
Wrong. We could buy a cruise missile every day for the cost of running this camp, and we did not create this situation. It was your people who first rebelled. They cast the first stones. They brought this cataclysm upon their
My
heads.
people are great. They are heroes.
Oh, some of them may be heroes. Some of them are certainly criminals. Maybe both at the same time, like people everywhere.
You must learn to understand our culture.
I'm not sure you are the voice of your people. Well, you don't even speak Arabic as well as I do, owing to your misfortune of having been educated in England.
This camp is not fit for humans, but we don't want to stay here. We want to go home.
Of course you want to go home. Why, you were one of the first to arrive. Tell me, why did you come here? Did you lose your stomach for the fight, or did you see the chance to fatten your waistline on the tragedies of your people?
My comrades are winning this struggle. With or without the help of the West, the regime will fall within 12 months. We will all be going home soon. In the meanwhile, I don't have to listen to a guy in an air-conditioned caravan screaming off a fortune from the aid money which is owed to my people.
Send your men back to the cafe and I'll do something about the sewage
thought you would.
Shh!
I don't hear anything.
Exactly. You were saying?
Soon as you asked me, I thought you were a little direct.
Oh, you were right. They don't teach you that in diplomatic school, but here the culture is different. If you were in Asia, you would be humble. You were saying?
Soon as you asked me, I thought you were a little direct.
You're right. They don't teach you that in diplomatic school, but here the culture is different. If you were in Asia, you would be humble. Down in Somalia, you would scream and rage and then kiss and make up. But here, you have to show them you're a man who's prepared to fight them, or they will diss you. You have to earn their respect.
You can't build personal relationships on aggression.
When a guy is squeezing your balls in his fist, I would call that a highly personal relationship.
These people have suffered wanton cruelty, and they feel pain. We need to show that we understand that. We need to sympathise. If we can convince them that we share their sense of hurt, they'll let us inside their defences. Only then can we open up a constructive dialogue.
Constructive dialogue is what they have in Geneva before lunch. Out in the bush, you shout.
Hello, Sabine. Come in.
Who's this?
The girl I was telling you about. Sabine.
She cannot be in here.
Sabine is 14. She's very bright, and she speaks excellent English. I'd like to hire her to help out around my office. She'll come with a chaperone, and she can help me with my Arabic. It will cost almost nothing.
She should be in school. Why aren't you in school?
The last day I went to school in my town, men came in with guns and shot the teacher dead.
I understand, but you'll be safe here in our schools.
They won't teach me how to shoot the Kalashnikov. If only I knew how to kill that monster who's devouring
You'd
us.
be better off trying to realise your own potential. The best way you can help your people is to become an educated citizen.
Yeah, no, you are cheating us with these 10 schools and caravans! If you really wanted to destroy the regime, it wouldn't take you 10 days. We have no power. We only receive empty promises. The West wants this struggle to continue and ruin our country.
You don't speak like a 14-year-old girl, so I'm going to give you an adult reply. We don't support your people with military force because your opposition is too fractured. You are allied with hardline Islamist forces affiliated with Al-Qaeda and pledged to establish an Islamic caliphate under Sharia law. Right and wrong is more complicated than you think it is.
This little girl is dead. You can tell because the blood is coming out of her ears and mouth. She was my little sister. That's all anybody needs to know about right and wrong.
I'm sorry about your sister.
Are you going to give me a job?
If I could give a job to every girl in the camp, I would. We cannot just choose you.
I am smarter than they are. Nobody speaks better English.
Then perhaps if you went to school, maybe you could go to university, train to become a doctor or a lawyer or a politician, something to help your country.
You're not going to give me a job.
I'm sorry, no.
I told you. He has no heart.
That is an extraordinary Muslim woman. She speaks her own mind.
She's got moxie, but she speaks somebody else's mind.
Surely you could have made an exception. You hire other locals.
Only when it's the only way to get the job done.
I thought it would be a nice gesture to the people to nurture one of their
I
right
wish her
kids.
luck. She was born in the wrong place at the wrong time, but she has to take her chances like everybody else.
That sounds heartless. These people are
I don't
suffering.
have the power to bless a multitude, Stanton. I'm not a social therapist. I'm a removal man, a technician of dispossession. I keep people running on empty.
I thought she won the moral argument.
How do you know her anyway?
Bobo introduced us. She's his cousin.
Bobo the Igric Bar.
He brings the coffee around.
That's the Colonel's man, she's a plant.
What do you mean?
A spy. He would love to know everything that goes on in here.
She's a member of his circle, then maybe it would have been a good way to mend fences with him.
I'll send him some roses. Have you heard from Geneva recently?
Every day. There's always some gem coming through.
Griselda been in touch.
The regional director's got a lot on her plate.
Well, maybe she'd like some roses.
Are you suggesting I should contact her?
Strong woman, don't you think?
About Sabine?
Is she Austrian?
Sabine? Is there anything I can say to change your mind?
In Austria, when a lady gets sent roses, it's really something quite special, especially in winter. I wonder if it's the same in Switzerland.
I don't understand you.
Nor me. Forget it. And forget Sabine. I thought I told you to go to bed.
I'm 15 years old.
No, you're not.
Almost. I can stay up if I want to.
Well, tomorrow's a school day. Have you done your homework?
I'm not going to school. I'm going to join the Colonna's army. He's going to teach me how to shoot a Kalashnikov.
Over my dead body.
That's what he said.
I tell you what you're going to do. You're going to get top marks on your baccalaureate. You're going to go to university and you're going to train to become a doctor or a lawyer.
Or a poxy aid worker, huh?
Why not something where you can make a difference?
Aid workers don't make shit. I'm going to be a rapper.
Whatever, you still have to go to school.
What do they ever teach you in school? Don't you know the only way to get somebody to do what they don't want to do is to put a Kalashnikov to the head?
Look, Miss Know-it-all, I want you to keep a civil tongue in your head.
Oh, this is not a civil place.
And I want to know what's going on between you and that guy.
Which guy? Mohammed Tariq Ahmed Abdullah?
You know who I mean.
Ah, James.
Santa.
He has a first name, you know.
He's too old for you. Yes, he's less mature. He's from a different culture. He doesn't understand.
It's you who doesn't understand. You don't know what it's like to grow up without anyone. Not even a little sister. James listens. You don't.
Don't go there!
We call it the Edgware Road. There's probably 1,000 small businesses here, dozens of tea and coffee houses like this, pizza and chicken and shawarma joints. You can buy air conditioning, a TV or a washing machine. Just down there is a beauty salon where you can get your eyebrows threaded or your hair cut and dyed, and a bridal shop where you can hire a gown or a limo for the reception. It's just a four-wheel drive vehicle.
Lakeside in the desert, where fashion meets fun.
On the surface, life goes on. But just think about it. You're living in a relatively sophisticated society that suddenly implodes. How do you cope with that? You see that man slumped over there? The one in the red and black checked keffiyeh? His face tells you everything. It's not just peasants that come here. We get teachers, merchants, intellectuals. Not so long ago he would have had a family, a house, a job, friends, a neighbourhood, a purpose. Life made sense. Now he's a statistic. He's completely displaced. Physically, geographically, socially, and psychologically. Please don't. His dignity's always got left.
What about the stories I've heard about civil unrest, exploitation, sexual violence?
That's tapering off now. The problem now is that the camp has become so successful. It's creating tensions with the local people. They live in poverty too, with primitive housing, an overstretched healthcare system, neglected water infrastructure. The refugees enjoy far better services. One of the things I'm doing is organising a handicraft fair to bring the local women and the refugee women together.
Who did that handicraft wiring up there? Prince Philip?
Prince Philip.
He made a wisecrack about Indian wiring. A mare's nest tangle like that. Who's responsible?
It's illegal. The storeholders tap into it to run their businesses, to bully your team.
Let me get this straight. The UNHCR supplies electricity to the camp for free.
That's right.
And these shopkeepers, they tap into it to run their businesses and make money from the refugees.
They are refugees themselves.
But they don't pay for their electricity.
Yes, they pay, but not to us.
To who then?
The leaders.
What leaders?
Community leaders, refugees like themselves.
Gang leaders?
Leaders of the neighbourhood councils, they control this strip and they sell the sites to the shopkeepers.
They own this land?
No, but they sell the right to occupy it and they provide electricity. There's money in it. A site on the strip would cost you $2,000 and the electricity is extra.
They're mafia. They're stealing from the UNHCR and exploiting their own people. Why don't you put a stop to it?
Our policy is sort of laissez-faire.
So you basically tolerate the criminal class that's running the economy of this camp?
I'm not saying I agree with it or that it is a defined policy as such. It's just how things work here.
But you've made some sort of agreement with these gangs?
Not a formal agreement, as far as I know.
Who does know?
The politics of the issue are not within my remit. To discuss those, you'll have to...
Let me guess. Moriarty. The Lord Mayor.
That's what they call him.
I can't wait.
So, where's it gone?
I swear to you, Lord Mayor, I know nothing of this.
Toilet 77, a 40-foot caravan, vanishes overnight. The cinder box on which it stood had gone too. It was in your district and yet you know nothing about it.
There are 20 streets in my area, and this communal toilet, I've never seen it. I don't think it ever existed.
Ah, well you can see it now. Here it is, on the satellite image. That's where it was last week. Toilet facility 77 in block CH42.
My people are proud and independent. They don't like communal things. They don't want to cook in a public kitchen. They don't want to go to the toilet with anyone else. Even if that toilet facility had been there, they will never use it. So it's better if they steal it, isn't it? To make it into something useful.
Sorry, I didn't realise you had company. This is Harringer, the news reporter, and Colonel Hassan.
We have already met. She has heard the voice of the people. Now you can fill her ears with your propaganda.
Hi. Welcome to Hell in a Handbasket. I'm Moriarty.
That man Hassan, of which army is he a colonel?
Oh, his crowd was called the Righteous Scorpions of the Desert. He specialised in landmines and claimed to have killed 90 people. His title is self-anointed.
Like yours, Lord Mayor.
People call me that.
So, Hassan, he's one of the gang leaders that runs this camp.
I run the camp. He's just one of the people I have to work with. Nobody elected me, but I run a city of 125,000 people. That's about the size of Charleston.
Colchester, Exeter or Lincoln, I've been told.
I usually say Charleston, Hartford or Santa Clara. But then, of course, you are British. What else have you been told?
But you got this camp running in 2 weeks.
We had tents up and people living in them within 2 weeks. We provided basic food rations, flour, beans, cooking oil. Then the aid agency started to kick in with the NFIs.
NFIs?
Non-food items, cooking utensils, plastic sheets, water containers...
Then we had to build a nexus for the public provision, food distribution centres, sanitation, water storage, electricity, school security outposts. It's all laid out in 12 districts along paved roads. We've got trucks, ambulances, police cars, police stations, petrol stations. 200 NGOs are working here to supply these services. We've got 100 doctors, 5 primary care facilities and 3 hospitals dealing with everything from tuberculosis, typhoid, hepatitis, diarrhea, diabetes, scabies, head lice, post-traumatic stress disorder and childbirth. 10 children are born in the camp every day. Well, tens of thousands of children have been vaccinated against measles. Now we've got a new situation. Polio has broken out across the border.
Are they getting enough food?
Malnutrition is not a significant issue.
I've seen violent mobs of children attacking each other in the streets. Why aren't they in school?
Please. We've got 65,000 kids in this camp. We've got dozens of makeshift primary and secondary schools. Nearly 400 teachers and assistant teachers, but only 1 in 6 kids actually goes to school. And some of the parents believe the school certificate is rubbish and won't be any use to them when they get back home, or they want the children to work. Or they work because as soon as the basic infrastructure was in place, free enterprise flourished. You've seen the Edgware Road?
I was invited to tea. I've heard that those businesses are controlled by gang leaders like Hassan, that they have to pay for the rental of the space and protection money. I've also heard that prostitution flourishes and that the gangs rape and harass women.
This camp is an entrepot. These refugee families have always traded with bad guys, bandits and traffickers. And when they came here, they brought their social structures with them. It was all black markets and brothels. Look, if you're a combatant on the other side, you can get a free prostitute. And here you can see them coming across the border and being met by their pimps. And then naturally there are dons who take a cut of the businesses they've established, and they use the frustrations of their people to stir up trouble.
So, can we conclude that the UNHCR is running a modern-day Sodom and Gomorrah?
I can't change the culture and I can't beat the local corrupt leaders. All I can do is try and work with them and bring them around from the dark side.
Can you tell me a bit more about yourself? I gather you haven't followed the traditional career path.
If there was a path, I couldn't find it. I sort of dropped into aid work, dropped out of a lot of other things first. University. Became a pacifist, so I took part in a lot of riots. Roamed around Andalusia, got married. We started a holistic medicine centre for a bunch of hippies who couldn't pay their bills. Wife ran off with a motorcycle gang. That was a fair exchange. I got to keep one of their motorbikes. I rode it across the Sahara. I got drunk in a bar one night. Next morning, remembered I had promised to help someone build something. Turned out to be a clinic. It would change my life, they said, give me purpose. And it did. It got me into the African aid scene, and one thing led to another.
So you have no degree?
Only a diploma from the School of Hard Knocks.
No formal training?
We all just pitched in back then, learned on the job. That's how it was.
The UNHCR runs courses now in refugee protection, resettlement, electronic data...
20 years ago, they only ran language courses, and I never had time to go to any of them.
Would you say your efforts have been successful?
You're just trying to stem the tide, impose some order, give people better nourishment, save lives, educate some, hope to give a few of them a better chance in life. I mean, how do you measure success? Except to say that most of these people would have died if we hadn't have been there.
So, you're a pessimist, just stemming the tide.
I'm an optimist. And these people are alive and they're getting better every day in every way.
Except maybe morally.
Morality comes with the territory.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. It's been very informative.
As if we didn't have enough vipers in the desert, we have to import them.
to know.
What makes you think people want to look at my nose?
They want to see inside your head.
I'm not important.
You're playing God.
When he doesn't turn up, somebody's got to take his place.
What drives a man to take a job like this?
The same as you. Both want to sort things out. Except for one thing. Journalists already know this story. They've come to find out, and I don't have a script.
You don't seem to care about these people as individuals.
Well, God works with a large brush. He doesn't do detail.
Critics might say your attitude working for a humanitarian organisation is inhumane.
Tell me this. Have you ever filmed a man with a gun to someone's head and his finger on the trigger? Or a firing squad? Or a monk setting himself alight? Or a bomb marketplace where the survivors are dragging their corpses along the ground, sliding through their own blood?
We can't use that stuff. No one would broadcast it.
No, people really don't want to know how it really is. You're not going to use the pictures. So do you lay down the camera?
No. We carry on shooting. We don't know what's going to happen. Some of it may be usable.
You're missing my point. Do you try to intervene, prevent the atrocity, help the victims?
That's not our job. That's for the emergency services.
Or in this part of the world, that means other people, friends, relatives, neighbours, or victims themselves. Or maybe get Michelle Obama to tweet that this time something really must be done.
If we intervened, we wouldn't be doing our job.
Even if someone's about to die, right there in front of you.
Any violent death is tragic, but it's not the story. If you get involved in the detail, you miss the big picture.
So under what circumstances would you help them?
If I was off duty. But I'm always working. I'm a professional. Would you like to make a snuff movie? Who is it?
It's me, James. Stanley.
Come in.
I'm sorry to intrude, it's late.
Whatever.
I was impressed by your interview. What you said about the children. They're not getting a good start.
Well, they should be in school, not throwing rocks at each other.
They're traumatised. Look at these. I organised a drawing competition, and this is what we got.
They know nothing else. Was there something else you wanted to tell me?
What did you think of Moriarty?
What do you think?
He's a competent guy, deeply experienced, knows how to get things done.
But
He's a builder. He can build a city. But I'm not sure he's the right person to build a future for these children.
why not?
He lacks the most essential characteristic of a humanitarian aid worker. Compassion. He can build a warehouse for people, but he doesn't seem to care about the individual human beings he puts in there.
Have you told your superiors?
They wouldn't listen. He's so good at his job, and they're so far away. They don't see the little human tragedies.
For instance?
For instance? Well, it might seem a small thing, but there's this young girl I wanted to help. She's very bright, and I wanted to give her a job. Moriarty refused. Well, it was his call. But you know what he said? He said, I am not a social therapist. I am a removal man. A technician of dispossession. That's the key to the man. He's heartless. I'm not sure that's the right sort of man who should be running a refugee camp. Are you?
Can I borrow these pictures? The smells are city smells. Sewage, sweat, cigarette smoke, a heavy drench of eau de cologne, meat roasting on spits. But there's another smell too. The stench of corruption hangs over this sprawling camp like a dirty cloud. I met one of the local gangsters, a self-styled colonel who lives in a complex of 3 caravans around a cemented courtyard with a working fountain. To remind him of home, he says, whilst nearby babies play in tents infested with scorpions. The man who runs this city of the damned calls himself the Lord Mayor. He has no formal training and dismisses its importance. Apparently, he says that he is not a social therapist, but a removal man, a technician of dispossession. We donate money to aid agencies to relieve our Western consciences. But when bureaucrats are in charge of the money, compassion isn't in the budget. This is Karen Judd reporting from what the so-called Lord Mayor himself calls hell in a handbasket.
Well, that's fine. We'll put out more flags. Nothing. It's just an expression. We'll put the kettle on. And we're looking forward to welcoming you.
It doesn't mean welcome. It's from a Chinese sage. The full quote is put out more flags to increase military splendour. It's ironic.
Yes, but Her Royal Highness doesn't know that.
You were talking direct to Hollywood.
Geneva is where she reigns.
Oh, I thought you were talking to
I was talking to Griselda. They're standing down the goodwill ambassador visit from Hollywood.
But I've got everything set up! Why?
The balloon's gone. Griselda's coming instead. She wants my guts for garters, or whatever the expression for that is in Scandahula. Oops. I suppose I shouldn't have said that. Are you mic'd today?
Pardon?
Do you have on your hidden microphone?
What are you insinuating?
No, then I commend you on your memory. You got it word perfect. I am not a social therapist. I'm a removal man, a technician of dispossession.
She asked me for my views, and I told her. You've accomplished great things here, but for a professional aid worker, your attitude is all wrong.
An attitude is a luxury I don't have time for. I'm just trying to get the job done. And you could help by parking your attitude and working as part of a team.
We're not here just to build roads and put up toilets. We've got to start listening. If we can absorb some of their pain, we will become their friends, and not just people who try telling them what to do.
It's not Mohammed blogs that's the problem. It's the leaders who manipulate them.
The leaders have to hold out hope to the people that change can happen, but they need the support of the people, willing them on to move forward.
It's not the way it works out here. It's top down.
That's got to change. We've got to give ordinary people a sense that they have a stake in the future. You should never forget the people and never stop trusting them. Ultimately, only they can make the world a better place.
Oh, and that's a good speech. But if you're thinking of becoming a politician, maybe you should go somewhere where people are allowed a free vote. One man, one vote doesn't apply here. Everything is tribal. It's one man, 1,000 votes or 10,000.
These are not widgets you're stuffing into boxes on shelves. These are individual human beings.
Widgets are easy. They don't have to eat and shit. Moriarty's Sewage Works and Holistic Medicine Centre. Moriarty speaking. I don't know. Well, it's a tall order. Right, I can't promise anything, but I'll see what I can do. Would you believe it? The capo in District 4 is complaining about the food. He wants us to start supplying Maggie cubes to perk up the beans and the bulgur.
What a Maggie cube.
Looks like Bovril and tastes like scorpion piss. He used to pick them up in Switzerland. See if you can find a donor who's prepared to send us a couple of 100,000 packets.
One ship.
Every week.
What is it?
My parents.
I don't think... It's not about me, is it?
No. It has nothing to do with you.
What is it?
I'm leaving this camp.
Your family must not go back home. It's dangerous over there and getting worse every day.
We have no home anymore. There's nothing left. Our neighbors, our families have all gone from our home. My little sister is dead. You know, every day we hear the name of someone we know who has died or disappeared. My two brothers, another cousin, another uncle, they have all gone from our home.
Arrested.
We've heard nothing from them. Maybe the police have taken them away, or maybe the military, or maybe men with beards who wear leather jackets and jeans and carry Kalashnikovs and speak in foreign accents. Who knows who they are, huh? You know, I used to think some people were good, some were bad. You can tell them apart. Now I know everyone is bad. My father, even my mother, all grown-ups. I hate them all. All they do is hate and kill and do bad things.
Do you hate me, Sabine? There are some adults you can trust. People who are trying to help you. Don't abandon us.
Maybe you're not very grown up. Maybe that's why you're still good.
When you grow, you'll see that you can choose to be good or bad.
No, my life is over.
You're 14. Your life is just beginning. You won't be on this camp forever.
No, I'm leaving this camp.
Someday you'll go home and you can go back to school and become a doctor or a teacher of your people.
My life is over. I have no more dreams left.
What do you mean? Tell me.
unusual age, and it is no concern of Allah.
She's a child! She should be in school. They are marrying her off and depriving her of her childhood.
For her, it is a blessing. Her parents are securing her release from the poverty and depression of this camp. They are giving her a life.
A life as a sex slave? She'll be the youngest wife of a 65-year-old Saudi who's already got 4 brothers.
It is the wish of the family. There is nothing wrong with it.
How much?
What?
How much was the deal?
The bride price is a matter of negotiation for the family.
How much was your transfer fee?
She says the Colonel's cut was $2,000.
Everyone knows you're running a marriage racket.
In our culture, it is the usual custom to procure brides for money.
In this country, it is illegal!
How long were they banging up for that in this country, Stanton, or were they just cut off his pecker?
They only do that in his country. Over here, a year or 2, maybe after a trial in the royal court.
Fuck you! I fuck the royal court!
Plus another 3 years for insulting the king.
We can prove it, Colonel. We've got the girl's testimony.
In our culture, it is the usual custom to procure a bride for money, and 14-year-old girls do what they're told!
I would think very carefully about this one, Colonel. You are offending the laws of your host country.
If that girl comes to any harm...
Don't threaten me! Who are you? You are nothing! You're just being sent away from your country to earn a salary setting up toilets and wiping asses in the desert. You have no power.
The UNHCR can take this up to the highest level in the government.
So you send an email to Geneva? Maybe you hear from them next year?
Actually, the regional director is landing tomorrow, so we can raise it with her then.
I thought it was Hollywood that was coming to patronize us.
There's been a change of plan.
One wonders why Geneva changes its plans.
You're doing the right thing. And I'm grateful. I owe you an apology for talking to the press. If you'd like me to speak to Griselda when she gets here...
If I don't nail the Colonel on this one once it came out, I lose all my authority. It does not mean I have turned into a social therapist.
Do you think he will back down?
A man who has killed 90 people is not going to back down. He's going to stir up trouble. Now he knows the regional director is on her way. It's given him a platform. We've got a situation. We've got battle stations. Go on.
Where are we going?
Over to Army Command Headquarters. We're going to have a cup of coffee. I was hoping we'd get around to this.
What?
Sleeping together.
You shouldn't be in that seat.
Why not?
You can't sit in first class.
Is this your husband's seat?
I don't have a husband anymore.
Boyfriend?
I don't have time for it.
Oh, you should make time to make love. It's so good it puts everything else into perspective. Any children?
We waited too long. He said he didn't want any, and then...
He found somebody who could make them. It's no good looking out the window.
If I had my time over again, I wouldn't do it.
There's no answers out there.
I'd have a family.
Nothing but clouds.
You can give too much of yourself away and end up with no life of your own.
Have you tried the implied entertainment?
I'm too old for rom-coms.
People of our age are allowed to make love too.
You'll have to remove some of your armor.
And yours. Otherwise we'll make a hell of a racket.
I just want...
What?
Would you like to see my tattoos?
Yes, please.
I'll go get them.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain has switched on the fasten seatbelt sign. Please return to your seats and fasten your seatbelts. Thank you.
She's here.
She wanted to show me something.
Did you want me in the meeting?
Her tattoos, I don't think you were invited. I hope you had a comfortable journey from the airport, Matilda.
You were right about the Macadam Road. On my way here, I saw some Bedouins camping alongside it.
Well, they've come here to reprovision. The camp has become a major trading centre.
They were living in our tents. UNHCR tents with our logos on it. They cost $500 each.
That's how much they cost us. They go for $100 on the black market.
Those tents are intended for the refugees.
And the refugees are traders, so they trade them. They don't stop smuggling because they take up residence in the camp.
And you accept that?
Look, there were communal kitchens and toilet facilities here last week, and they've been stolen, turned into private residences. I'm not running a Christian youth camp. Look, we've got to encourage these people to take control of their lives, and you do that by talking to the right people.
And apologizing to them if we get something wrong.
No. Bureaucracy does not apologise. We like bureaucracy. It prevents mismanagement and problems cropping up where and when they shouldn't.
And you accept the theft of our property?
If you take the gangs head on, you've got a situation. There's 125,000 dispossessed people here. A refugee camp is a cauldron of political resentment and frustration. Nobody's looking for more trouble.
You were right about that too, the scale of the camp. Is it too much for you to handle?
It's too much for anyone to handle without their cooperation. We try to buy it with free food, water, shelter. We distribute more than 300,000 loads of flat bread every day, and everyone gets 34 litres of water per day per person.
The Sphere standard guideline is 20 litres, I believe.
Average water use for cooking, cleaning, personal hygiene, at least 15 litres of water per person per day. Maximum distance for any water source to a household, no more than 500 metres. Maximum queuing time at a water point, no more than 30 minutes. I know.
You are giving them twice as much.
To these people, water is more than just a necessity of life. It's spiritual. It flows and gurgles and gargles, and in their architecture, their paintings, their poetry. To lift their spirits, I give them more water than they drew from the well of home, and still they're miserable.
Geneva is not just interested in the statistics. It is the human story that shapes the way people think.
It's because they're human that it's difficult. Look, I'm trying to bring these people from the dark side of the moon to the bright side, and at the end of the day, only they can help themselves.
What would you say to people who say you could pay more attention
Oh,
to
social therapy.
That broadcast has raised concerns in Geneva.
Stanton said he wants to talk to you about that, said he can explain everything.
I doubt he could explain you.
I'll let my record speak for me.
There was that incident in the Congo.
You know about that.
It's on your record.
You've done better.
There was a meeting. The Division of Human Resources was asked to contribute.
What is on the file?
Nothing specific, just a general complaint. But it is the same complaint. That you seem indifferent to human tragedy.
I was assigned to lead a team to rescue 100,000 refugees, Hutus. They were being pursued through the jungle. The Tutsis had Kalashnikovs, machetes and grenades.
The Hutus had nothing, it was a massacre.
True, but the Hutus had started it a few years earlier by massacring Tutsis with Kalashnikovs, machetes and grenades. And any road, guilty or innocent, my mission was to find the refugees, stabilise them and bring them to safety. We went into the jungle, where we heard they were. We had medical teams and supplies. We saw people hacked to death and those still dying. I heard that a woman was being threatened by an angry crowd. And when I got there, I saw that she was pregnant, probably with the wrong man's child. They had machetes and we had no weapons. I tried to find a head man to negotiate with, but there was no one around. And shit was happening everywhere. Someone came running up to me, asking for instructions about something. That's when I had my epiphany. I realised that if I spent my time trying to save that single woman and her unborn child, thereby putting my team at risk, I would not be doing my job. I realised my job was not to save that woman, it was to make sure somebody else does.
And that attitude shapes the way you do your job today.
That's why I'm so good at my job today. I don't allow myself to get distracted. You could say I've become emotionally hardened like cops who get brutalized. Still, there are times I have to remind myself why I'm doing this. I'm not made of stone. If I get involved in personal trauma, I cry and I stop working. So I block it off. I built a barricade around myself.
You have emotional support. You are married.
You've seen my personnel file.
Children.
I was a baby girl from my first marriage. My mother took her off on the back of a Harley Davidson. Do you have children?
I don't have time for it.
You can give too much of yourself to this job.
You married again. You could bring your wife here.
They would waste her. She's Jewish. Well, half Jewish. Maybe they'd leave half her. I don't know. It's just as well.
Just as well.
We're not really together anymore. You know how it is, living separate lives. Or do you? I haven't seen your personnel file.
I'm divorced. Doing humanitarian work tends to lead to inhumanity in your personal life.
A lot of aggro, was it?
The right haulings.
Well, you could probably use a little emotional support as well.
I've built a barricade around myself too.
I dreamt about you once. You kissed me. Here. On the forehead. And then you went away. You left and I grieved for you.
It must be lonely for you.
I've got close neighbours. 125,000 of them. These people there.
They have nothing. But we are victims too. Don't we deserve a future?
Come on. That's an impossible dream. On the other hand, Al-Sabir Mifta al-Faraj.
You'll have to translate.
Oh, literally, patience is the key to happiness, but it implies much more than that. It's more like, all good things come to he who waits, if his heart's in the right place.
What's that?
I want this man arrested!
What's the problem?
He was seen with the girl! Sabine! He was groping her!
I was comforting her.
You cannot touch them. What can we do about this?
The girl is spoiled! The groom no longer wants to marry her! And the family has suffered an indignity!
What can Mr. Stanton do to apologise?
I didn't do anything. I was reaching out to her.
They've lost the marriage price! You have to pay for it!
How much?
$5,000!
And that includes your cut, no recriminations, and you get those choruses off my back.
We draw a line under it.
We draw a line under it. The colonel is happy, the family is happy. The girl is safe from a fate worse than death, and this young man's career is saved for $5,000.
It's blackmail.
It's a fly speck in our budget. I spend more than that on plastic sheeting every day.
We cannot set a precedent.
The precedent was set round here 10,000 years ago. This is how it works.
Absolutely not. This is intolerable.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to make a negative report.
Before you go, the colonel's on his way. He's got something he wants to say.
I would like to put something positive in the report. Is there anything encouraging that you can say to me about how you see the future of the camp?
Well, you can tell them in Geneva it's going to be a triumph for free enterprise.
Free enterprise.
Look, I've been trying to get these people to accept that this place is not a rest stop before they can hoik it back on their camels and return home. It's a temporary city. It's going to need another $30 or $40 million worth of infrastructure. It's a bit like what the mayor of Rio de Janeiro is trying to do with the favelas. But we are humanitarians. We dole things out. We are not urban economists, and we different businesses.
And we don't have a spare $40 million for your project.
No, but we've got the important things right. We've established security, we've got governance, and we're respecting people's personal dignity. Now, what these people are complaining about is that not enough of them are getting jobs in the camp. Well, it's like your protege, Sabine. Well, that's good. We've got to wean these people off the dependent syndrome. They've got to want to put us out of a job, and they're doing so. They don't like the communal facilities, so they steal them, but they're building their own showers, kitchens, toilets, so I think that's better than us trying to micromanage how they take a shit. And Stanton's got this crazy idea about setting up supermarkets using food vouchers.
Sabine's idea.
Well, it might work, let's try it. But the most important infrastructure challenge we face now is the electricity. I want them to privatise that too. I spend $500,000 a month supplying electricity to this camp. Well, you've seen the wires leading from the lamppost. They siphon it off and charge people to use it. Well, I know who does it, because they have the cheek to come in here and complain when a generator broke down. It was a 100 kilowatt generator, and they were drawing 300 kilowatts through it. So now I'm going to employ these self-taught electrical engineers. I'm drawing up a feasibility study of how to extend this illegal grid to 25,000 households. I'm going to create a Ministry of Energy. And the people who are stealing the electricity, I'm going to put them in charge of it.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Colonel, would you tell me what you said to me?
There has been a mistake. Those who made the allegations against Mr. Stanton have lied. They have withdrawn their accusations. They had their own reasons for stirring up trouble, and they will be punished.
And about Sabine?
I have intervened with the family. The arranged marriage of Sabine has been called off, and the girl has agreed to go to school.
And the $5,000?
We forgive the debt.
What made you change your mind?
The Lord Mayor changed my mind. He's a very persuasive man.
Well, I apologise to the Colonel and his people for Mr. Stanton's well-meaning mistake. And I apologise for my failure to deliver the caravans which I had promised to the people.
This is very good news. I will now be able to make the kind of report I wanted to make.
I'd like to escort the regional director to the airport.
I know you've been keen to have a chat with her. In the meanwhile, the Colonel and I have to go and see a man about a camel. Goodbye. And thanks for your support.
Goodbye. And keep sorting out the dog's breakfast.
I hope you come back soon.
It's part of my job to keep in touch with you.
Thank you.
Jade, when you drop the regional director off, do you think you'll pop in and see me? About 4.
Righto.
Mr. Moriarty said you had something to say to me.
I did. But that was before the balloon went up.
You owe him a great deal. Your career was at stake.
Will that go in your report?
It's a detail. Geneva just wants to know the broad picture. That he is doing a good job under difficult conditions. What was it that you wanted to say to me?
About Karen Jedd, the news reporter. We got into a discussion about what aid workers have to bring to their role, about values and professional training. I'm afraid she misinterpreted what I said and turned it into a criticism of Moriarty.
Journalists always arrive with their own agenda and then select the impression to support it. Didn't they teach you that at your training courses?
Not in so many words.
Some things you can only learn by making mistakes.
That's just the point I was trying to make to the journalist. Experience is important, but you can't just drop into aid work and play it by ear anymore. The humanitarian program has become much more professional. It needs highly qualified individuals with a genuine ethical commitment. Good intentions and a willingness to help just aren't good enough anymore. You can't make a difference unless your work is based on a coherent value system, because we're accountable, not only to the communities that we're trying to help, but also to the taxpayers back in our own country who fund us.
I see you have been on our training courses. And Moriarty is a dinosaur. Is that what you told the journalist? Moriarty is not a theorist. He prefers to deal in realities. His favourite word is situation. And he speaks bluntly. He doesn't believe in anything but himself. But don't make the mistake in thinking that means he has no moral compass.
James, I've got good news for you. You're being promoted. You're going to be our first local community liaison officer, so you can reach out and all that. That's your cup of tea, isn't it?
I do a lot of that already.
No, sure, this is just formalising that aspect of your role. We're going to make it your job description to maintain close and constant contact with the community leaders.
I like that. But not just the leaders, because...
Sure, anyone you meet on the street. And you'll have credibility with them, because you'll be working closely with the Colonel, 24/7. I've made him our local goodwill ambassador. Naturally, you'll be spending most of your time out of the office in one of our new Range Rovers, because the Colonel can't drive.
I'm to be the Colonel's chauffeur.
We'll put a special logo on it, Goodwill Ambassador. Who needs Hollywood bimbos who don't turn up? And you're going to be his right-hand man. It'll give you that opportunity to maintain that constant contact with the leaders, which is what you want, isn't it?
Sure. But is it a correct use of our resources? Those vehicles cost a lot of money.
70k.
For the use of one man.
A man who is our conduit to a great many people.
It's not in my job spec.
Well, your job spec is the same as mine, James, to help these people, as you keep telling me.
It's not my career path.
No, except for the Colonel, your career path would have terminated at Beachy Head.
24/7.
You can work out a shift rota with the other drivers, but you're the key man. You're going to be our eyes and ears in the Colonel's district. You can pick up the keys at the Mike's Hall.
Is this some kind of punishment? Okay. I have it coming. I let you down, but I was just trying to make this refugee camp a better place.
No, we're just trying to impose some order. And we're bound to fail. A refugee camp is like a gigantic boil of frustration and passions. One day they will erupt and infect the whole world.
We can prevent them with education and our cultural outreach programs.
What if these people are beyond help?
If you think that, you're not fit for humanitarian work.
It's just a rhetorical question. Morally and ethically, these people are imprisoned in their own conflicting ideologies locked in their heads and their hearts. And we cannot unpick those locks. They created this situation. Let them clean it up, not us.
You're wrong, Moriarty. There is hope. The children. We can save them before it's too late, before their brains are pickled in dogma and their hearts grow hard. That's why what we do is so worth doing. Is my car ready?
Stanton's just on his way.
There's a fine line between pragmatism and corruption. Are you sure you haven't just stepped over it?
It's for your personal transportation on civic matters. No weapons, no contraband, no women, no drugs. If he steps out of line, blow that.
About that logo, we should put on the flag of the righteous scorpions of the desert. Then everyone will know it's me.
That's the one with the letters written in dripping blood.
To strike terror into hearts.
Well, that's not the job description of a goodwill ambassador. You've got a lot to learn, but Stanton will keep you on the righteous path.
He couldn't tell a male camel from a female. You are the one who can teach us. You're a good man. Because only a man who's not afraid will walk at night alone in his camp as you do. We saw you. We were thinking whether we should kidnap you or not. We decided not to.
But I don't think the UNHCR would pay much to ransom me. They might thank you for getting rid of their problem, boy.
We have decided now that we want you to keep your job.
Mm-hmm.
The news from home is not good. The rebellion has attracted some people who have joined our cause but are not fighting for our freedom. We will have to fight them as well.
What's happening on both sides? If someone comes to help you fight your wars, you end up fighting theirs too.
Now it is a stalemate. So now we think we're not going home soon. We're going to be here for a long time. Our people face a future in this camel's graveyard. We are coming to terms with that. We will have to work with UNHCR. And we think you are a man we can deal with.
Do you know Dadaab?
It is in Kenya.
They built it 20 years ago, in a place fit for cows and goats like this. Now it's the biggest refugee camp in the world. There are 10,000 Dadaab grandchildren, children of the children born in the camp.
Another place where the West pays to store its problems.
Wherever there are people, there are aspirations. They dream of winning. Better food, women, motorbikes, houses, careers.
I dream of beheading my enemies. What do you dream about?